What's up, everybody? Good evening. The draft ended about 6.5 hours ago, and the UDFAs have been flying off the shelves ever since. So, the bulk of UDFA signings is over as of now. I believe that we have signed 12 of them. We could sign as many as 19 to get up to 90 total players, which is the limit right now. But some of those spots will go towards other types of players, like unsigned veterans. Some people are saying it could be Sherman or KJ Wright. It could be players who get cut later down the line. So we basically have 7 open roster spots right now to get up to 90. So good chance we sign a few more UDFAs in the coming days, but the bulk of the work is done here. So let's talk about what we got. I already went over 3 of the signings in the previous UDFA video. We've added on to that list in some pretty impressive ways, including one guy who I consider to be a huge UDFA W. So let's jump in. Seahawks Maven has this list on SI.com where he was tracking who we picked up. So let's take a look here. Now, this is just going to be a summary video of who we picked up. I will offer more detailed analysis in the coming days on these players, especially when it comes to 2 of them, because 2 of them are especially interesting and have a real good chance to make this roster. But this is just going to basically try to summarize who we picked up. So we already know about the big W, and I consider this to be the best UDFA we got, to Maureen Terry, the receiver from Florida State. He's big. He's relatively fast. He was very productive in 2019. I'm shocked he didn't get drafted. We already know about him. We already went over that earlier, but that's the big one for me. That is the big fish that we reeled in. I also talked about Brian Mills a little bit. He's long and lanky and sea hockey, which proves that just because we took Dre Brown doesn't mean that we're done with that kind of prototype at cornerback. And we also had Jared Hawker, guard from Texas A&M, who's 6'6" and 327 pounds. So that is where we left off with the last video. So let's go over the 9 signings since then. All right, so this one's kind of interesting. Pierre-Olivier Lestage, Canadian offensive lineman. So I guess this guy, I don't think he played in the CFL. I think he does come from college football, but he's a Canadian offensive lineman. So that's kind of interesting because you guys know we do have a little bit of an opening at the center spot. So if Pierre-Olivier Lestage actually can play center in the NFL, it all depends on his attributes and how it stacks up to other centers. 6'3", 305 pounds, maybe. Then he may very well push Kyle Fuller for that backup spot, which would be great in my book because Kyle Fuller is one of the guys I want to see pushed off the depth chart. Let's see here. Who else? BJ Emmons, running back from Florida Atlantic. We were talking about him a little bit in the chat. He's somewhat interesting. So it sounds like he's more of a power back with a little bit of speed. But ultimately, because of the running backs we already have on this team, probably just a practice squatter at best. One more running back as well. We got Josh Johnson from Louisiana Monroe, relatively productive at ULM. He did not have a very good 2020, however. 2019, very productive, though. He would have been drafted coming off of 2019, but bad 2020, didn't get drafted because of it. Kade Johnson, this is the other W. So of the 12 UDFAs the Seahawks have so far, I see 2 of them having an easy and sensible route to making the roster as of right now, by which I mean the 53-man roster, and they're both wide receivers. Maureen Terry, I think, will make the 53. I think Kade Johnson has a very good chance to make the 53 as well. It's early, but that would be my guess. So Kade Johnson is a receiver who many expected to go in the 3rd or 4th round. Somehow he slipped all the way through. He's seems like more of a slot cornerback, someone who's crafty, someone who's not necessarily fast, but he's quick. But we do have an abundance of slot receivers, I will grant you that. But Kade Johnson was somebody who I fully expected to get drafted. I have to take a little bit of an L here, actually, because I didn't list him in my collection of UDFAs I wanted the Seahawks to target a few hours ago, so I got to just take an L there. I totally forgot about Kade Johnson. I absolutely would have listed him just because of the value, but I look for Kade Johnson to fight for a roster spot with guys like Penny Hart and maybe even Freddie Swain. So Kade Johnson, another W. Those are two W's in 12 UDFAs. To wrap the list, we have Connor Wedington, a receiver slash return man from Stanford, another Stanford guy. Um, it seems like he was relatively productive and tested well for a UDFA. His sub 4.5 time is pretty good. I don't know if there's room for him on this team because we're suddenly pretty stacked at receiver and actually kick returner too. So, not really seeing how he makes the roster, but interesting to watch anyway. All these guys are at the end of the day. We have John Radigan, linebacker from Army. Now, right after the draft, Carroll's press conference, he mentioned that we want to bring in some young linebackers to compete for the depth spots on this team. I didn't see us bring in any big names. I floated, of course, the Alabama guy. I'm sorry, his name escapes me for the moment, but the Alabama guy, he went to Jacksonville pretty much immediately. So John Radigan, I don't know if he's going to even be able to play in the NFL because of his deployment stuff with the Army. But yeah, we picked up him. So notable. Not sure exactly how that works. Jake Curhan, offensive tackle from California. And let's see here. We also got Greg Island, guard Ole Miss. I expected this guy to get drafted in like the sixth or seventh, so we got pretty decent value here. And the final signing was Gerard Hewitt, defensive tackle from Virginia Tech. So these last three guys I don't really know much about. Line depth. The only guy I could see making the roster is Greg Island because he had a draftable grade. But yeah, don't know these three guys that well. But that's the 12 guys so far. And again, we do have room for up to 19, but some of those spots are going to go towards other types of players. We can still sign veterans. We can still pick up guys who get cut by other teams. So we may only see a few more UDFA signings. I will do one more UDFA roundup if we bring in anybody else. But in my book, the guys to get excited about from this UDFA class would be Kade Johnson and Maureen Terry, two wide receivers. And I talked about how weak our receiver depth was. So I'll go over the roster ramifications on a future date, tomorrow, next day. But I would say that we have a chance to purge our entire collection of practice squad and bottom end receivers on this team. So Cody Thompson, John Ursua could both be sitting on the couch, and maybe Aaron Fuller his job could be in jeopardy as well. So we may have a refresh at the bottom of the wide receiver depth chart. That's the thing that excites me the most about these UDFAs so far. I think we did pretty good there. The rest, I don't know if they have a path forward, but time will tell. Time will tell. So that's your UDFA roundup for the Seattle Seahawks. 12 guys. Could be as many as 7 more to come. I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Go Hawks. Check me out and stream later. And hey, 2 W's. Pretty good.